Hi, welcome to Learn and Master Guitar, Session 2. We're going to cover some very important concepts today that all guitarists should know. We're going to learn how to read music, a very important skill for you to know as a guitarist, to be able to get the most out of your playing. We're going to learn about the music staff, what some of the names of the notes are, the rhythms and rests. We're going to learn about playing with tablature, which is how you're going to see a lot of the guitar music that you're going to work with. We'll have music notation at the top and tablature at the bottom. So we're going to learn how to tie those two together. And then last, we're going to learn about the notes on the first and second strings. We're going to learn our first notes, first 6 notes. I look forward to it, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, you ready to learn how to read music? So many people think reading music is just incredibly complicated and no human could ever understand it, and certainly no adult could ever learn it as an adult. Usually you may learn it as a kid. I've been working with people of all ages for years, and I have not found that to be true. Adults can pick this up as easily as kids, and I can explain it to you in just a couple of short minutes of how to read music. Ready? Let's go ahead and start. Music is written on a music staff. A music staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. The music staff goes across from left to right, just like if you were reading a book. The music travels along like that. Think of it like a timeline. You need to divide that timeline up into equal segments, and those are called measures. And you divide them by little bars called bar lines. When you get to the end of a song, you have a big thick bar there. That's your double bar line at the end. It means that you're at the end of the song. Let's get back to those 5 lines and 4 spaces. That's going to be real important. Where the note is on the staff, whether it's low or high, determines whether it's a high note or a low note. Okay? If it's at the top of the part of the staff, it's a real high note. If it's at the bottom part of the staff, it's a low note. So as you're traveling up, you would be traveling up in pitch. Da 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 da, up like that. Now let's talk about the lines. We're going to learn the notes on the lines. Like I said in the first session, the musical alphabet goes from A to G, and then it just starts repeating. So I can't tell you to play an M or a T or a V or anything like that, but we can go from A to G and just keep repeating. On the first line of our staff, there's 5 lines. On that bottom line, that's the first line. If a note is on there, it's an E. If it's on the second line, it's a G. The third line is a B. The fourth line is a D, and the 5th line is an F. E, G, B, D, F. Wait a minute, don't get confused. Sounds an awful lot like the names of our strings. 2 completely different concepts. Use some of the same notes, but 2 completely different concepts, so don't get confused. The notes on the lines are E, G, B, D, and F. Well, just as letter names, they're kind of hard to remember. So how everybody remembers them is every good boy does fine, corresponding to the E, G, B, D, F. Every good boy does fine. Okay, let's practice, see how well you remember. If the note is here, what is it? Good. What about if it's here? And what about here? Learning the notes is very important. We've learned the notes on the lines. Every good boy does fine. Kind of rhymes with line. It's a good way to remember it. Now we're going to talk about the notes that are on the spaces. In between those lines, the note can also be on those spaces. There's only 4 of those. So counting up from the bottom, the first one of those, the first space, that note is an F. The second space, an A. The third space, a C. The 4th space, an E. F, A, C, and E, which conveniently spells the word face, which kind of rhymes with space, so that's a good way to remember, keep track of both of them. So let's practice the notes on the spaces. If the note is here, what is it? And what about this one? What about if it's here? And lastly, what if it's here? What note is that? Great. Now, let's mix it up a little bit. We're going to mix up between lines and spaces. I'll give you a little practice on that. So if the note is here, what would that be? Now let's switch over. What if it's here? What would that be? What about this one? Is that on a line or a space? That's what you need to ask yourself. And then you put in the right phrase that goes with that. What about this one? And lastly, what about this one? Pretty good. Got a handle on those? Now, the notes can also be above or below the staff as well. So they can be in between. We've learned the notes that are on those 5 lines and on those 4 spaces, but they can also be higher than that. What if I wanted to play a note that's higher than that? How does that work? Well, you can do that. That's no problem at all. Let's count up. Let's go up first. So let's start. Here's a D. 4th line. And then let's go up 1. What would this one be? Well, that would be an E. That's that top space. If we go up 1 more, we're on that top line. That would be an F. Now, if I want to go higher than that, I put my note up on top of that top staff. And what do you think that one would be? Well, let's figure it out. D, E, F. The next one would be G. Now, if I need to go up higher than that, that's no problem at all. Although, I can't just have my note hanging up here in space. I have to add a line to it. So you kind of have a reference point of where it is in relationship to the other lines. That little line is called a ledger line. And it's very important. Now, let's go down. Let's go the other way. We're going to start on let's start on a G. On that line. Now we're going to go down 1 more. This is the first space. That would be an F. Now we're down to the first line. An E. Now if I go 1 more underneath that, what do you think that one would be? Now we're going in reverse. It's a little bit trickier. G, F, E. This one would be a D. And if I need to go down a little bit further, if I go down 1 more, of course I'd have to add my ledger line there, and this would be a C. Now we're going down backwards in the staff. Okay, so there's the names of the notes. If it's on a line, every good boy does fine. If it's on a space, F-A-C-E. If it's above or below, you just have to count them up and add it from there. Now let's learn about rhythm. All right, let's talk about rhythm now. Rhythm, it tells us how long the notes are. Notes come in different lengths. We're talking about the lengths of the notes now. You still with me? I haven't bored you too much now on the music reading end of things. Let's go for rhythm just for a couple of minutes, and then we'll get into some guitar playing. The first note we need to learn about is the whole note. That would be an open circle, nothing inside, no stem on it or anything, and that gets 4 beats. Whole notes get 4 beats. I wish there was a good way you could do this other than memorizing it, but I don't know. You just need to memorize it. Whole notes get 4 beats. That would be 4. So if I'm counting, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a whole note. If I was playing it, it'd be something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be a whole note. A half note is an open circle, and it has a stem on it. Now, the stem will point either direction, either up or down. It doesn't matter which way the stem points. The stem can point up or down. What matters is that it has a stem. If it has a stem and it's an open circle, it's a half note, and half notes get 2 beats. So we've talked about whole notes get 4, half notes get 2. Okay, let's talk about 2 more. If it's a filled-in circle and has a stem, blackened out circle and a stem, that's what's called a quarter note. And he gets 1 beat. Think of it like a whole dollar. A whole note is filled with 4 quarters. 4 quarter notes, quarter note gets 1 beat, so it takes 4 of them to fill up a whole dollar. Half notes get 2 beats, so it takes 2 of them to make up a whole note. Now the last one we're going to talk about is an 8th note. He gets a half a beat, so it takes 2 8th notes to make up 1 quarter note, 2 quarter notes to make up 1 half note, 2 half notes to make up 1 whole note. Don't get lost in all that. It's just a couple things you need to remember. Whole notes get 4, half notes get 2, quarter notes get 1, and 8th notes get a half a beat. We'll learn more about 8ths in a coming session. We won't deal with 8ths too much right now. Now let's talk about the measures. Inside of those measures, we have to have sound and silence. Sound is represented by the notes. Now we're going to talk about how do I want to notate if I want silence in there.